So there's a lot of people who are playing this game for the first time. And they have 21 characters, so it's not overwhelming by any means, certainly since you can switch between them at any given time. But basically, like, what do you think are the easiest characters?
For a beginner?
Yeah.
To use? So I think that Soldier 76 is a pretty obvious choice. It isn't to say that you can get the most out of him by being while being a new player, because I do think that his pulse rifle obviously takes like some manual dexterity to aim. But I just think if you're just trying to get your brain wrapped around the concept of what Overwatch is, if you're not already familiar with the whole idea of like different characters having like really divergent different ability sets, I think that Soldier 76 offers a kit that's flexible and kind of lets you fill a lot of different gaps. But most importantly, I think for beginners is that it's very familiar. He feels like FPS guy. You know, he's the one character that kind of innately feels like FPS guy. He's got an automatic, relatively high casualty producing weapon that's fairly accurate along medium ranges. He can dash, which the lack of a universal dash is something that I always see new players. Sprint just got away.
Sprint is definitely the way to classify what.
What's that?
Sprint is the way that I would classify his move.
Oh yeah. That's correct. But anyway, people are so used to having like just universal sprint that's just being part of the tool set of how you move around in an FPS. And most characters don't have that in this game, but Soldier 76 does. So and also the ability to heal himself with Biotic Field, you know, just gives him a certain amount of flexibility and self-reliance that I think is nice, dude.
Thanks.
That was great. Just gives him a level of self-reliance.
So I totally agree. Yeah, I think that like you still need to aim with him, and actually he scales very well into the higher echelons of play.
He does.
His ultimate is just hands down good for multiple reasons, but he is FPS guy. So if you're a Call of Duty fan, a Battlefield fan, you'll immediately kind of understand. And the other thing is that his heal makes him super self-reliant. I'm not sure if you said that already.
Yep.
But
and
in terms of other easy characters, I would go. Oh man, Winston. Winston's pretty easy. Though, that being said, you need to have very good ideas of when to engage and when not to engage. I think that the tanks are generally a little bit more forgiving just because of their high health pool, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll dominate with them.
Right.
And then I think like if you're just completely devoid of any kind of manual dexterity when it comes to aiming, Mercy is a great character.
Sure.
Winston, Symmetra. So...
Yeah, there's definitely lots of characters that are... See, but that said, I will say that a character like maybe Mercy is okay for beginners, but a character like Symmetra, I would say like... What's up? What's that?
I know what you're going to say about Symmetra, that she requires an inkling of skill.
No, she requires a lot of skill. Like, it's just not the... That's the thing, like, you keep narrowly defining skill as like, well, can you aim? And it's like, well, that's fine. Like, yeah, it doesn't take a lot of skill to aim Symmetra's weapon.
I don't think it takes a ton of skill to put a bunch of sentries behind the doorway.
It absolutely. Like, you're telling me that a beginning player who doesn't understand the maps, doesn't understand strategy, doesn't understand tactics, is going to know where to put those things?
Maybe you need experience to know where people are going to go and where health.
If you are a new player and you don't know the maps well enough, and you don't understand the tactics and the ebb and flow of matches well enough, no, you're gonna put all your turrets in a line by the door, and they're all gonna get destroyed in a split second.
But then you learn,
and then you're gonna be like, well, I'm useless.
I think that's an experience thing that you just like. You know, it takes one or two mess ups. In terms of other, let's just go to the hero gallery another way. Oh, no, it's not.
Nope.
Defense characters: Bastion.
Obviously, yeah.
Torbjorn. But basically all of these guys can have higher skill caps, with the exception of maybe. I think pretty much all of them you can learn and evolve with. Reinhardt, I think, is actually a little bit trickier for newer players. I see a lot of new players jump on him.
He's very tricky.
Like, please, dive in head first. I think that's kind of the way the game is meant to be played. And if you're just playing something and experiencing zero success with them, I think the most important thing is, like, you can switch heroes at any time. So figure out the natural counters. If there's a Bastion on the enemy team who's just destroying your whole team, Genji is a hard counter to him.
And also, I think it's
because of his deflection ability.
It's also worth noting, I feel, is that, like, if you go into this game with the idea that success is rated in how many kills you got, that's also something that you'll have to revise. Like, you know, if you're gauging, well, I'm not being very successful because I'm not killing lots of dudes. Like, well,
that's the thing I was talking about.
That's just not.
In certain instances, I think that like at the end of the day, kills translate to time enemies aren't alive, therefore pushing a point or defending a point.
It's important. I'm not going to say that getting kills isn't important, but like if you're playing if you're playing as Diva or Mei and you're thinking to yourself like, well, if I don't get lots of kills, then I'm not doing anything for my team. It's like,
Sure. That's true.
You have to think beyond your primary weapon. You cannot play this game and be like, well, I just got to shoot all the dudes until they all die, and then I'm doing well for my team. It's like you have an entire skill set.
Speaking of shooting all the dudes,
yeah,
I'm gonna pick Widowmaker here.